Let's go into a district goals report, specifically graduation data.
Yeah, Beth, if you want to come forward.
Hi, good evening. Excuse my voice. So we will start with graduation rate, if everyone's good with that. So for the class of 2017, originally when I put the report together, we were at 93.1%. But then after some calculations with the state and finding a few more students that ended up at other high schools, our rate went up to 94.1%, so that's good news that it actually increased. Sometimes when students transfer out, it takes a while to find them in the system, so we'll take it. A few more students were found. So we are at 94% for the class of 2017, and our adjusted cohort for 2016 went up to 95% from the 93.9, and I'll get to that a little bit further in the report. When I projected what our 2017 graduation rate would be back in May of 2017, I projected 97.2. That number is off a little bit for the 4.1% because when I originally calculated this, I calculated off of 93.1 when it's really 94. So I was actually only off by 3.2%, and I will get to why I was off that, 3.2%. So for the class of 2017, we had 11 students drop. 6 of those students dropped during their senior year, and so that's certainly something that as a student services team and as a school-wide team we need to look at. Of those 11, 5 of them were transfer students to RV, 6 of them were special education students, and 5 of those students went on to pursue a GED. Unfortunately, when a student does pursue a GED, the state counts those students against us and considers them a drop. Over the last 9 years, between 8 and 13 students have dropped from their cohort. So obviously that's something that we want to continue to shrink those numbers and try to keep every single one of our students here and get them graduated with a high school diploma. We had 9 students that didn't cross the stage in May, but were able to finish in summer school through credit recovery. So that certainly helped our graduation rate to 94. I think the summer school program that we have for them is very robust, and we are really take every initiative possible to get those students back in school right after graduation and encourage them to come back and get their diploma. We retained 18 students for the class of 2000 for the 17-18 school year, and so I'll explain what that means. We have 7 students that didn't graduate through credit recovery, meaning when we started school on August 15th, we considered them 5th-year seniors. 3 of those 5th-year seniors were transfer students that, as I was speaking about some of these students that didn't make it, 3 of those were transfer students. So again, that's really something that as a student services team, as a school-wide team, we really need to look at our transfer students.
Can you explain one thing again?
Sure.
I know you've done this before, Beth.
That's okay.
We have to track our students that start as freshmen even if they transfer out, right? And to
Correct.
determine whether they graduate.
Yes.
Why are the seniors that transferred in and the people that transferred in their senior year, why are they counted against us? I thought they had to be tracked by the schools they came from.
No, because once they leave a school through SIS and they are picked up from another school, then that school becomes responsible for their graduation.
So the kids that leave us, if they don't go to a school in Illinois or they don't go to school, that's why they count against us?
No, if they transfer to a school out of state, as long as there's a record that we can find where they landed, then that school is accountable for them. Where we take a hit is if a student decides to transfer out and they say they're going somewhere, say they are going to transfer to Morton. but yet they don't actually they don't fill out paperwork through Morton and request records, and then there's no tracking them in SIS.
Okay.
So SIS is tracking every single student once they join a cohort. So when parents register their students as kindergartners, that is their cohort, and they are tracked through the SIS system. And sometimes that means me making phone calls to find out where students have landed. And we started this practice a couple of years ago because it was like, we have so many students, where did they go? And we were able to track students down. So now that's really become our practice, is to find out where every student has landed. And unfortunately, sometimes they don't land anywhere, and that's why that drop counts against us. So of the 7 students that were credit deficient, 4 of those 7 were special education students, and 6 of those 7 happily have returned to RB as 5th-year seniors and are participating in the APEX program. They are typically here 5 periods a day, and based on other years, if they come back, we tend to get them graduated. So that's why that adjusted cohort rate tends to go up, because after 5 years, we can consider them graduates. So we work very hard to try and get them motivated to come in, do what they need to do, and get out as quickly as possible. 11 students, special education students, and this is another area that the state counts against us. I know I explain this every year, and it still doesn't make sense, but we had 1 student that received a certificate of attendance, and unfortunately that counts against us. But we had 10 students that met their graduation requirement, meaning they earned their diploma. They were ready to accept their diploma. However, they decided to stay on for transition services, and as a special education student, that is their right. And unfortunately, the state, if they don't take their diploma and the student returns, they don't consider them graduates, and again, they count those students against our graduation rate. For the 2017 cohort, the projected adjusted graduation rate, if we are able to keep those seniors that return and get them to graduate, and again, I had to redo the math based on the 94% graduation rate that was changed. I anticipated it would be 95.5 if we can get those additional students graduated over the next year, hopefully. But then when you look at what our graduation rate would be if you exclude the special education students returning for transition services and the one with the COA, our graduation rate is at 95.5%, which I think is a testament to the really hard work that the teachers, the deans, administrators, counselors do to achieve that 95.5.
It says 95.7, so is that,
I'm sorry, the 95.7, yes.
just want to make sure we're looking at the same
Yeah,
spot.
I'm looking at the 95.5 that I'm thinking about for the adjusted, the real one, but the 95.7 is the one when you take out the special education students for transition and the COA.
Beth, I have a question.
Yes?
So those special education students, since their cohort is gone and never coming back, they'll never count. Like when they age out, they don't get to count towards.
They do.
Oh, they do?
They do. When they take their diploma, they will count. So
Oh,
that's why
okay.
sometimes our cohort will go up. But they are able to stay until the day before their 22nd birthday. So we don't necessarily see those changes, for somebody who graduated from the class of 2014. We typically just go back and adjust the previous year, but they do, it does in the long run add to our over percentage.
So Beth, I have a question. It's 11 special ed, how many special ed kids were in the senior year, or in the senior year?
Class of 17.
I would totally be guessing if I asked that. I mean, we have probably 200 plus special education students in our building,
So we're talking about a
so,
pretty small percentage still.
Well, over 10%.
yeah. So,
And we have, just so the board's clear, that we have special education students that receive some assistance throughout the school year and graduate and go on.
Right.
receive a
Oh,
diploma.
sure.
These are students that have some significant disabilities, that need transition services till their 21st birthday.
right. And so they're learning job training, they're working with our
Life
transition
skills.
team, life skills students.
Right.
So those, those 11, again, were eligible for a diploma, but just chose to stay on to receive those additional services.
Could you clarify one thing I didn't understand?
Yes.
Under the bullet that says, move up a little, Mary Ann, would you, please?
Mary Ann, move up a little bit.
The one that says 18 students, it says 7 students, credit deficiency, 4 of 7 are special ed. Then the next bullet says 11 students are special ed. What's
Okay.
confused me?
Yeah, so the 11 and the 7 are equaling the 18, and the 7 were the students that were considered fifth-year seniors, meaning they did not earn the,
But out of the 18, were 15 of them special ed students?
yes.
That's what was confusing.
Okay, yes.
Okay.
But I was grouping them in the students that were not eligible for diploma in that first section of 7,
I got it.
and the 11 that were eligible, well, the one was a COA, and then the other 10 were eligible to earn a diploma. So I think that speaks to our students are earning their credits, but they're just staying on for services here at RB. And then, again, back to the class of 2016, again, these are students, when we recalculate our graduation rate, students that came back last year, worked through the credit recovery, were able to earn their diploma, and we were able to adjust our 2016 cohort to 95%. Questions on that? So I start tracking this pretty early on, actually starting at end of sophomore year, but giving you a projection for the class of 2018. Looking at students who have already left to pursue their GED. We've had 1 student drop. Looking at students that potentially will come back in the fall of 2018 due to credit deficiency. We have 1 student with possible certificate of attendance, and we're looking at 9 students that are possibly coming back for transition services. And I think my projection for the class of 2017 was off because of those 10 students that were coming back for transition. Didn't anticipate such a high number. And now looking at possibly 9 coming back from the class of 2018 is something to look at. Is this a trend where we're going to have more and more students needing and coming back for transition? And then no students expelled, so that's good news. So right now, the projection for our graduation class for 2018 is looking at a 95.8%. And so it's just the importance of keeping every student here, and any student that's looking to drop, looking to pursue a GED, trying to counsel them in to stay and keep them here. So I've just listed some of our continued supports that we give our students to help maintain our graduation rate. We are diligent in creating a watch list for these students that are at risk of not graduating. We're monitoring that through our small team meetings. That consists of me, the deans, social workers, our behavior interventionists, counselors, and really looking at students in the class of 2018 that are credit deficient. So currently, any student that is behind in credits, we have them enrolled in APEX at some level to try and get them caught up so that they don't feel defeated and frustrated and feeling like graduation is not within their reach. Having regular meetings. We also stay in touch with the credit recovery teacher, working with her so that we know what attendance is looking like. If there's any behavior concerns, we get the deans involved. The counseling interns that we have been facilitating some groups with our transfer students. They did that last year. We're going to continue to do that because that clearly seems to be an at-risk group, especially if they're transferring into RV late. They oftentimes come in credit deficient. So it's trying to come up with a plan that they feel that they can be successful here and give them some courage and hope that they can walk out with a diploma on time, hopefully. Continue to have conversations with parents so that they're really aware of what's going on, so that there's no surprises. We send credit checks to our seniors right at the beginning of the year so that they know where their students stand, they know what needs to get done. And we have senior contracts that are sent out at the end of the first grading period. So hopefully that there are no surprises, but I think for some of these students that are at risk, you can't communicate too much. We just really need to make sure parents are on board and we're working as a team to get their students through and graduated on time. For students that are credit deficient for the class of 2019, so our current juniors, we typically give them access to credit recovery second semester, because the first semester we're really focusing on those fifth-year seniors. We're focusing on our seniors that are in danger of not graduating. So to not really pull all of our resources, keeping our resources focused on our, like I said, our current seniors and our fifth-year seniors. And then we will offer credit recovery for our rising seniors. Again, I've already spoke to that during summer school. It's been very successful, and we'll continue to do that. And we offered math and science and English courses over summer school for our first session, and I think that they were really well attended this year, considering the history. For whatever reason, RV just does not have a history of summer school, so that is something that myself and Dave Mannon and Kylie Greger and Kristen are now working for, to really try to get that out there and getting students to attend summer school so that they don't get so far behind and don't have to scramble senior year to get caught up.
And why don't you touch on real quick, I thought I saw one question about Apex, just how we use that.
Did I answer it?
She answered
Okay,
it ahead
good.
of time.
Okay.
She explained why they wait till the second semester for
Yeah.
the current juniors,
And
because
I
they're
think
so busy.
But just
Yeah.
maybe summarize what Apex is for the rest of the board. It's an online,
Yeah, it's an online program. It's accredited. It covers all of our subject matter here, and there are modules that students can pass out of. It really becomes a mastery of learning as opposed to just having them, sit through a class that they've already sat through. If they're able to master those skills, then they move on to the next. We have a full-time person working with them in this program, and we really are having some success over the last several years. I think it's made a big difference in just students feeling hopeful that they're not so far behind that they're not going to make it. Any questions on graduation? Okay. So moving on to matriculation. How I figure matriculation is through data from Naviance. So the students take a senior survey to indicate what their four-year plans are, and then we also base it on where students are requesting their final transcripts to be sent. Now again, this is where students are self-reporting, and we're basing it only on the students that are graduating too. So I'm not taking into account the students that didn't graduate or the students that are here for transition. Our matriculation rate for the class of 2017 was 97.5. It was a larger class from 2016 to 2017, 50 more students. I think that the percentages are pretty similar from the class of 2016, but I really did notice an increase of students attending a two-year college from a four-year college. So I did sort of an informal poll with the counselors, just, what are they hearing from students? Why is this? And it really is a financial decision. It's so much more cost effective to start out at a two-year school, especially if they're not completely sure what they want to do. They're not completely sure they want to leave the area. So that really seems to be the driving force why our students are going to try their hand at a two-year college first before going on to a four-year school. We'll continue to do all the things that we're doing in student services to keep matriculation up, continuing to hold our parent evenings. We're starting a career committee. Kylie Greger has started that last year, and I am going to partner with her on that this year so we can really start talking careers with students. not exactly sure what it's going to look like, but we're going to have a plan because there's college and then there's a career and how to marry those two together. Continue to hold like I said, our parent nights. This has been just such an asset over the last couple of years. Triton College sends one of their reps to us twice a month, and any student that does not have a plan or does not have sort of a goal after high school, we kind of sign that student up to meet with the college, the rep from Triton, and make that introduction to just start a conversation. Would you consider Triton? What are you interested in? And it's been, I think, just beneficial for RB, for Triton, for the students. It's really see a difference, and the students seem to like that we're taking the initiative to hook them up with somebody when they might be a little hesitant to make the introduction themselves. Trying to over-communicate information to parents when we are holding evening events for college. I'm going to try something new and add some things to the newsletters, maybe do some links, things related to financial aid, things related to taking campus tours online, just maybe some things that parents aren't aware of, and sometimes students don't always share that. Now that students, 3 grade levels are using Chromebooks and are one-to-one, I feel like we can push more things out through technology so students are aware, so that it's not just going to parents. We've been holding a first-generation college group for juniors probably for the last 10 years, and with our increase in minority students, I think that's becoming more and more important to ensure that students are have as much information as possible about how to start that college planning process. Again, with financial aid, we continue to have people available for parents to assist them with filling out the FAFSA, and we have a speaker, Frank Palusami, he's been coming here for, since I've been at RB, and every year he comes, I feel like he gives parents really great advice on how to plan for college. And we used to only offer it, or we would advertise it only for like our junior and senior parents, and now we want to advertise it for freshman parents so that they are mindful in how they can prepare for their college, for their students' college. Continue to have Camp College, we have ASVAB testing still, and then we have a trip for our at-risk seniors that are really sort of not wanting to go to college, bringing them to Triton and letting them see what it's like to be on a college campus if there's no one in their home that might do that for them. And then I started this last year, just some sort of fun facts. Interesting to see how many transcripts we send. Over 1,800 transcripts were sent from the class of 2017, ranging from 1 to 20. The average number was 5, and College Board recommends between 5 and 8 applications, so I like that we're sitting right where that recommendation is at. We had over 90 college admissions reps here, and we do a survey at the end of the year with our seniors, just getting information, just how their experience was, and really hitting some questions related to student services. And it was interesting that I was surprised that we only had about 50-some% of our students taking advantage of those rep visits. So that's one of my personal goals, is to make sure that we're really getting that information out to students. I know some of them don't want to miss class, so I appreciate that, but making sure that they are really exposing themselves to the reps that are here, because RB has really become that place where reps want to come and meet with students. I think when I first started, I would have said we maybe had 40 to 50 reps here, and now that we're getting close to 100, it really says that they want to recruit RB students. 363 different colleges across the country were applied to, and then I listed the top 4 schools where our students applied for the class of 2017.
Is it, are there less kids applying to go into the military, or is it just harder to get in now?
There are less kids. I see that in the number of students that take the ASVAB test.
Okay.
Every year it seems to be less and less that they take the test. So that's why I assume that there's less and less interest.
Okay.
Any questions for Beth?
Yeah, these at-risk kids, we take the Triton and we do all this
Yeah.
stuff. Do we ever follow up, see if they finish?
If they actually follow through with Triton.
Right, or if they follow up and if they go 1 year, they actually go 2 years, and then if that.
Yeah, there is a
really goes to
student,
the-
there is a student tracker that we can see that. You know, sometimes they need to work first.
Mhm.
It's hard to kind of, I mean, I feel like when I was in college, it was like you started college, you got out in 4 years. And now, there's so many other factors. But yes, I can definitely look into getting some information on, you know, once they leave, how long is it taking? Are they actually following through with that plan? Sometimes they have really good, you know, intentions, and then there's all these other factors that come into play.
Well, back to the financial, right?
Yes, that's a big piece. And it's definitely
I
a
don't
big
wanna-
piece.
They don't want to take kids and burden them, say, well, go, and then they're like, well, I don't have the money.
Yeah, I mean, and that's why I think a community college is, you know, a really good option. You know, Triton is very affordable, and if they're willing to take out some loans, but then that really scares parents, like especially if they have parents or have co-sign on those loans, so.
Certainly a lot of press about it,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm. We do have more and more of our students interested in COD as well. That was another sort of suggestion on the senior survey, was that they wanted us to provide more information on COD, even though it's not our community college. They offer some programs that Triton does not. So that was another thing that we were going to work on and try and have a COD rep here a couple of times a month for
If
the
a student
students.
attends COD that's not in their district, is it like paying out of district tuition?
Yeah, they do pay an out-of-district tuition unless it's
This is
a
a
program
program that they don't
that
have,
Triton
right?
doesn't offer. Like a television, I think that's one that they don't offer at Triton, so they could pay in district tuition if the program is not offered at Triton.
Gotcha.
But they have some really interesting programs. They have like the 2 and 2 and the 3 and 1,
Mhm.
right? Which they help the kids. The 2 and 2 is you go to COD for 2 and then you go to the 4-year for 2. But everything's all planned out for you. And then same thing, 3 and 1.
Yes.
So it doesn't matter where you start, right? It's
Right.
only on your diploma is
It's
where you finish.
It's where you end up.
Right.
Yeah.
So those are cool programs. It's definitely worth
They do that at
offering.
Triton too, though.
They do. I think it just depends. I think Triton may have, COD may have some additional partnerships
Okay.
that Triton does not. So, you know, those are good conversations for counselors to have with students individually. But I do think having someone from COD come and share some of that information, or even, you know, share it with the counselors so that we can push it out to students and families.
But it sounds like you are trying to educate the kids as whether they're taking, and the families, if they're taking advantage of it.
Yeah, we are. And again, I think just increasing more communication, what's available, putting it in the newsletter, e-blast, putting it on our website, so parents have sort of one-stop shopping where they know to go to get information.
Because besides having your diploma from where you graduate, you also start your grade point average over again when you transfer from a junior college, right?
Mhm.
So for most kids, that's where they struggle the first year or two,
Yeah.
right?
Is there any more questions, comments?
I'll just make a quick comment. Your dual credit for your AP statistics class is a great program. Hope we can see some more of those. It's a fantastic idea. So if a student doesn't, for just our families who are watching, if your student does well in class all year, but they just didn't test well, they'll still get a college transcript with their college credits. And AP Stats is coming from Loyola, I believe, right?
Yeah,
So-
this year we have 4 opportunities. Last year we had 2. So we
Okay.
were able to expand that to AP Computer Science AP Computer Science Principles, AP Chemistry, and AP Statistics.
It's a great
So if the
program.
students complete those courses and pass those courses, they get dual credit from an accredited university.
There's a small fee that they have to pay, and parents, if they attended open house, should have been provided that information and can follow up with their teachers.
Sure, it's cheaper than credit hours on
Yes,
campus.
it is much cheaper.
And so
Great
the
deal.
counselors have pre-registration meetings with students prior to selecting their classes. We're going to be sure to include that dual credit information on the PowerPoint that we present to the students, and then the PowerPoints are always available to parents on our website. So we'll try to push that information out more so parents are aware.
Item? Well, thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
So the only goal reports that are remaining will be the SAT, or the ACT, SAT goal reports and the AP information, and that will come at the last meeting in September, and that will be all the district goal reports that the board receives on an annual basis.